Hello and everyone is Bringonthechaos Glizzy for another What If. What if Naruto reincarnated and grow up to be a loving father? Before we start, can you like and subscribe for more What If you wanted to request a new series, and if you wanted this fanfic to have full series, please comment 3 hearts and say your fanfic that you wanted.
Chapter 3. Speech. Thought. Attack creature. Chapter 3. The new shinobi. 1 year later, Asia age 14. It has been 1 year since Asia had left home and joined the church within the Vatican City. In that time Naruto had taken the passion to new heights by expanding his organization's power and influence across the entirety of Europe. It was a slow process mainly due to Naruto being subtle in how he expanded the passion, as he wanted to attract the least amount of attention as possible. Though with governments, business and much more under his control, Europe was practically his. So now he was looking towards expanding into the Americas, Africa and eventually the rest of the civilized world. Though for the meantime Naruto had taken a small break from expanding the passion, as Kurama had brought some new revelations to his attention only a few weeks ago. Apparently Naruto's body had slowly began to change in ways in which Naruto didn't foresee. According to Kurama, for the last few years Naruto's healing factor and Uzumaki heritage had been increasing in power and at first was almost unnoticeable. In fact, Kurama just attributed the slight change to a mixture of Naruto's new environment along with having both halves of Hagoromo's power. However, it was slowly becoming clear to Kurama that wasn't the case. Considering Naruto's body had evolved into some type of perfect life from giving Naruto a body that was vastly superior in durability to any human. Then even more impressive was the growth of his cells and lack of any cellular decay, which Kurama theorized would expand Naruto's lifespan by thousands of years. This of course caused the pair to be left wondering what could have caused this change within the blonde. Currently Naruto was seated in his office with Kurama trying to discuss what could have happened. Maybe this world has some weird side effects to my body. I mean, I am from another dimension. Naruto spoke up, while he reclined back in his massive leather chair. Kurama swayed his tails around, as with Naruto's newly improved body it was possible for him to freely leave and enter Naruto's body without any harm. This of course only further proved the change the boy underwent and was why the 9-tailed fox was standing in front of Naruto's desk while being around the size of a large dog. I've been doing a lot of thinking, Kit, over your situation and I've come to a conclusion. Kurama began in a matter-of-fact tone. Let's establish that with your Uzumaki heritage, Jinchuriki status and Sage Chakra you already had more power and factors that improved your body and lifespan. However, when you were floating in that empty void after defeating Kaguya you were surrounded by infinite power and energy. I don't remember anything about that dimensional void or my time within it. Naruto admitted. Well, I do, and let me tell you, Naruto, there was power all around you and it was rapidly destroying your body. In fact, it took everything from my Sasuke and your own power to keep you alive and allow you to escape. However, I theorize that you absorbed some of that dimensional power and it slowly melded into your body and eventually evolved your previous human form to your current state. One that is, from my understanding, the pinnacle of human evolution. So basically I absorbed some unknown stuff unknowingly and it made my body more durable than before and increased my lifespan 100 times over. Naruto summarized, to which Kurama simply nodded. I have no proof to back my theory, as we don't know how to return to that gap in dimensions safely, nor should we try. However, we shouldn't dwell on this too much and instead count our blessings. After all, you'll live much longer than you originally would have, and I get more freedom. It's a win for both of us. Kurama boasted with a large toothy grin. I guess you're right, but I wonder if Giorno and Asia will be affected like I was. They do have my DNA, so it's possible they could have the same phenomenon happen to them. Though for now they seem to be like I was before my body underwent this change. Naruto pointed out. It's possible and something worth looking into. Though I'm far more interested in something else. Kurama admitted, which made Naruto raise his brow in interest. Which is? Well, in the war you were able to share my chakra with the Shinobi Alliance. So what if you could share your chakra or cells with others? Kurama began in a matter-of-fact tone, while his red-slitted eyes had a small shine to them. Humans in this world are the weakest faction to our knowledge and are nothing like they are in our dimension. Though you've clearly evolved to something that even surpassed humans from the elemental nations. So what if you could use your chakra or cells to improve our human allies to better stack our odds against the angels and devils? I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Hell, even Madara was able to take Hashirama's cells to improve himself. Naruto folded his hands together and gazed at the fox. You're sounding like Orochimaru there, Kurama, but I understand where you're coming from. Humans in this world are weak and need sacred gears to even fight on a somewhat even playing field. So if we could find a way to share my DNA, it would elevate humans to a stronger standing amongst the factions. Now the question remains, if we can share your DNA, how do we go about doing so? The chakra beast asked, while Naruto frowned and scratched his head. I could use clones to research some ideas, but... Naruto took a pause in response to the door of his office receiving a knock. This caused Naruto to adjust himself and look at the door with a hard expression. Enter. Slowly the door opened to reveal Giorno and Mista, both of whom were coming for their monthly report on the respective factions they were observing. However, as they entered the room, they made quick notice to Kurama without any fuss. Considering they both knew about Naruto's past and the beast he held for so many years. Though Kurama slowly walked over to Naruto's side and stood by Naruto's desk, which only added to the blonde's intimidation as the boss of the passion. Since Naruto was already a powerful and imitating figure, but having a nine-tailed demon fox by your side only amplified that appeal. Father. Father. Kurama. Giorno mumbled softly, while he dropped to his knee. I've come to share what Bruno and I have gathered on the devil faction. Boss. Lord Kurama. Mista spoke up, while he also took a knee. I have some news that me and Fugo have managed to obtain on the fallen angels. Naruto motioned for both of the boys to stand. Rise and share with me what you've learned so far. Standing to their feet, both boys shared a look before Giorno walked forward and handed a folder to his father. The latter of whom opened the document and began to read in silence. Me and Bruno have learned a great deal of devil lifestyle and their hierarchy. Apparently there is something called the 72 pillars of high-class devil noble families. These are 72 noble families of pure-blood devils. However, after a large-scale conflict with the angels and fallen angels, over half of their numbers were completely eliminated. There is also lesser devils among their ranks in the underworld, but the leaders are a group of 4 individuals referred to as the 4 Great Satans. Giorno explained, while Naruto nodded and tapped the folder he was reading from. Your report mentions the lifespan and some abilities of some devils, but I'm curious. What is this evil pieces you mention in your report? Naruto asked, as he was getting ahead of his son. Well, father, due to the devils losing so many of their own, they began to create evil pieces to replenish their numbers by reincarnating other groups like humans into devils. They do this by a set of chess pieces called evil pieces, which are made from crystals available in a location called Agrees Island. Giorno explained, while Kurama smirked. Interesting. The fox commented, which made Naruto to glance to his lifelong comrade. What are you thinking, Kurama? Naruto asked, while both boys watched the duo from another dimension share a glance. Well, these evil pieces, or more so the crystals from Agrees Island, might be the missing link to the conversation we were having earlier. Kurama revealed cryptically, while he turned to look at Giorno with a toothy grin. Giorno, could you and Bruno possibly obtain some of these crystals for me and your father? Giorno rested his hand over his chest and took a bow. I'll make it my top priority, Kurama. Naruto observed his son and slowly closed the folder in his hands, while he began to think to himself. Kurama was obviously wanting to create his own version of evil pieces, but instead of creating devils, he was wanting to create evolved humans with improved bodies, lifespans, and most importantly, a source of chakra. Giorno, make sure you're careful in obtaining these crystals. Naruto spoke up, while he rested the folder on his desk. Obtaining them are important for reasons I'll share later, but they are not worth losing 2 of my best men over. In fact, if you could find any alternative methods to finding them, I'd recommend using the safest method possible. I understand, father. Giorno replied, as he knew his father was looking out for his best interests. But remember that I'm no pushover. Naruto smiled and shook his head. I know, Giorno, but what do you have for me, mister? Stepping forward, the gunslinger handed a folder to his boss, which Naruto opened like the last. Not as much as what Giorno and Bruno found, but I learned the fallen angels have a group called Grigori. They are a group of defected angels that have taken in exiled church members and humans with sacred gears. Honestly, they sound like a group a lot like what Diavolo made the Passion for. Naruto nodded with a neutral expression. Yes, they sound similar to the ideals the old boss of my organization had. Well, something that sets them apart is that one of their main leaders is more well known and is a fallen angel by the name of Azazel. More so, the group apparently has experimented with the creation of artificial sacred gears. Mista revealed, while he folded his arms. And that's all I've learned so far, boss. Naruto closed the folder given to him and placed it over top the one Giorno gave him. Well, good work, Mista, this is all very helpful. Though you both are dismissed, as I need to speak with Kurama in private. Mista nodded and took a bow. I'll keep working hard, boss. Giorno smiled and took a bow as well. And I'll make sure to obtain some of those crystals for you. Naruto grinned and watched the 2 leave his office. Then, as Naruto and Kurama were left alone, the blonde from another dimension stood to his feet and walked over to the window of his office. So these evil pieces and even those artificial scared gears prove that we could in fact create something capable of transferring my biology and changing our allies into improved humans. Naruto mused out loud, while his eyes gazed out into the peaceful city of Naples. I take it that you were thinking the same thing. Joining Naruto's side, Kurama smiled wide and his tails began to sway wildly in the air from anticipation. There is no shinobi in this dimension, but we could turn our passion into a new generation of shinobi. That would be one way to greatly increase humanity's standing among all the other factions. Naruto began in a matter-of-fact tone, but at the same time had a slight frown. However, at the same time we would have to be cautious in sharing such a power, as it could be something that could be used for evil fairly easily. You're right, but for now we should focus on making our own version of evil pieces, Kurama pointed out, while his crimson eyes glanced up to the boss of the passion. Then we can worry about who we give such a power to. Naruto smiled and turned around to his desk, while at the same time the phone on said desk began to ring. This of course caused the most powerful man alive to perk up and practically jump onto the phone. Considering it was a personal phone that only one person in the world had the number to. Hello, princess. Naruto shouted happily, while he clicked a button to turn the phone onto speaker. Daddy. Asia replied back with just as much enthusiasm and joy as her father. Kurama let a small chuckle escape his lips and he stalked his way closer to the phone. Hey, how are you, Kit? Ah, hi Kurama. Asia quickly greeted, which made the fox grin. I'm doing well. How are you and Daddy? We are fine, Kit. Is the church treating you well? Kurama asked, while his tails whipped in the air violently. I don't have to burn down that city or kill anyone, do I? Asia shrieked and Naruto along with Kurama heard the girl fumble the phone she was holding. No, no, no. Asia quickly replied in a nervous voice at Kurama's question. The church treats me so well and I get to help so many people with the church. Please don't hurt anyone. Kurama chuckled once more, as the fox had watched Asia grow since she was a baby and was quite protective over the girl. Well, if they keep treating you well, they shall avoid the wrath of the mighty Kurama. The chakra beast boasted in a proud tone with his head held high. Well, there is nothing to worry about then, Kurama. Asia declared in a happy voice. But you and Daddy should come visit soon. I miss you both so much. Naruto smiled and leaned close to the phone. And I miss you, my little angel. I'll make preparations to visit you soon. You promise? Asia asked in an excited voice. I promise, sweetie. Naruto replied with a happy and goofy grin. That's wonderful, I can't wait. Asia chirped in an excited voice, as these days it was rare for the father and daughter to spend time together. But I have to get back to work. I'll talk to you later, Daddy and Kurama. Alright, take care and I'll see you soon. Naruto declared softly, while the phone clicked off. It's good to hear Asia is doing well. Aurora would be happy to know that. Kurama spoke up, while Naruto smiled at a small portrait of his late wife. Yeah, she would. 1 week later, Vatican City. Naruto was currently using the Academy transformation technique to disguise himself as an adult Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto did this for a number of reasons, but the main reason was to avoid anyone figuring out who he was and connecting him with Asia, the latter of whom was walking by his side in her nun outfit, while a tiny one-tailed fox was held tightly in her arms. This fox was of course Kurama, who uses this form to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. So princess, is there any good ramen places around here? Naruto asked in a cheerful and goofy voice, while using a carefree expression that had never once been made by the face of Sasuke Uchiha. In fact, Kurama couldn't help from snickering at seeing the stoic Uchiha having Naruto's personality and expressions. Not really, ramen isn't really a popular dish around here, Asia explained in a slightly sad tone, as she knew her father loved his ramen. Naruto slumped over with a dark cloud over his body. For a city priding themselves on serving God, it's blasphemy for there to be no place to serve ramen. Idiot. Kurama grumbled softly, while he snuggled closely into Asia and began to sleep. Asia giggled and nudged her body into her father. Ramen isn't in the Bible, silly, but you would know that if you read the Bible like you're supposed to. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and chuckled. Hey, my bad. Asia smiled at her father. It's okay, Daddy, I have plenty of ingredients to make you some ramen at my apartment. Naruto grinned wide and ruffled his daughter's hair, while he leaned into the girl and gave her a one-armed hug by slinging his arm around her neck. I love my little baby girl, what would I do without you? Asia giggled as she felt her father rock her from side to side. You'd be hopeless, Daddy. At this rate you'll need a new wife to take care of you. Naruto blushed at his daughter's declaration, as finding a new wife had not once crossed his mind. I don't know about that, sweetie. Asia giggled at her father's expense, but before she could say anything a crude cough caused the duo to look forward, where a sister of the church with the appearance of a woman in her late 20s or early 30s with blue eyes and light blonde hair was glaring at Naruto. It would be wise to unhand that girl, pervert, she is pure and a daughter of God. The woman spoke up in a firm and commanding voice. Naruto glared at the woman, but stopped for a moment to think over his situation. From the woman's appearance she was obviously affiliated with the church like Asia. Meanwhile Naruto was made to look like Sasuke, who had no parental similarities like Naruto did. So currently Naruto looked like a 30-year-old man with his hands wrapped around a 14-year-old girl. I think you have the wrong idea here. Naruto began in a calm and calculated voice, showing how he had matured over the years. My name is Sasuke Uchiha and I'm simply visiting Asia, as I was friends with her late parents. The woman's glare shifted from Naruto and moved down to Asia. Young sister, is this man telling the truth? Asia bit her lip, as she hated lying and especially to a woman of the church. She tried telling herself that if Sasuke was alive and had met her, what Naruto was saying would be true. However, that wasn't the case and it made lying even harder for the young girl. Though she knew to make things easy she would have to swallow her morals and ask for God's forgiveness later. Yes. The youngest Uzumaki stuttered out, which didn't set well with the woman. Considering her tone wasn't very convincing and the hesitation behind her speech only further added to something being suspicious. I don't believe you, the woman declared sternly, while she pointed her hand at Naruto. So tell me what you're doing to this poor girl before I take action. Naruto scoffed, as now he was starting to grow annoyed. Listen, who are you? Griselda Quarter, and I'm an exorcist of the church. Griselda introduced in a stern voice. Well, Griselda, I appreciate you looking out for Asia, but I'm growing tired of you butting into matters that don't concern you. So walk away and go pray to your god or something, I really don't care. Naruto declared in an aggressive tone that caused the woman to step forward. Griselda's eyes turned a cold icy blue and the woman shot forward, while revealing a hidden sword she had tucked away in her rather baggy nun clothing. You were warned. Griselda growled, while she thrusted her sword into Naruto's gut. Though to the woman's shock her blade shattered into shards and left no mark on the man except for ripping his clothing. And you were warned as well. Naruto mumbled, while he slightly tensed his fist for a punch. A sight which slightly filled Griselda with concern, while Asia's eyes grew wide. Dad, don't hurt her. Asia begged sadly, while she wrapped her arms around her father's arms. Knowing just his punch would be enough to seriously harm the woman. Naruto halted his movements and looked down to his daughter. His eyes growing soft, while he could see the sadness in them. I'm sorry, Asia, I took this too far. Asia shook her head and shoved her head into her father's side. It's okay, just no more. Asia replied, which was a response that made Naruto run his hands through Asia's hair. She called you dad. Griselda spoke up in a stunned voice, while Naruto bit his lower lip. Well, this is bad. Naruto grumbled in a frustrated voice, while suddenly he along with the two women of God disappeared in a blur of speed. Griselda quickly stumbled forward in surprise, as she found herself standing atop an empty rooftop overlooking the Vatican City. Wow, what happened? The woman asked in a stunned voice, as she was a little disoriented from the random burst of inhuman speed. I took us somewhere more private to talk. Naruto revealed, which caused Griselda to look in his direction just as his transformation dropped in a puff of smoke to reveal his true appearance. Considering you've learned a little more than I'd like you to know. Griselda blushed heavily, while she looked at the incredibly handsome and well-built blonde father. Just what are you? An angel? Devil? Or perhaps something else? Naruto laughed and glanced down to Asia, who was still holding onto a sleeping Kurama. The latter of whom couldn't care less about the events transpiring. I'm just a protective parent visiting his daughter. Naruto explained in a friendly tone, while he looked back to Griselda. But you can call me Naruto Uzumaki. Griselda pointed her finger forward. I know you. You're that pervert that writes all those sinful books. Naruto's mouth dropped at her declaration, while Asia laughed and tilted her head. Yup, that's my daddy. Asia giggled loudly. Oh yeah. Naruto began, while pointing back at Griselda. How do you know they are perverted unless you've read them yourself? Griselda blushed and slapped Naruto's hand. I am a woman of God. I would never read such disgusting and sinful filth. The exorcist yelled loudly, while she stomped her foot onto the ground. However, doing so allowed something to fall out of her baggy clothing, and it wasn't another sword. In fact, to Griselda's horror, Asia's shock and Naruto's humor, all three looked down to see one of Naruto's Ica Paradise books laying flat on the ground for all to see. Sinful filth, huh? Naruto asked with a slight chuckle, while pointing down at the book. Want me to sign it for you? No. Griselda yelled loudly, while she quickly scooped the book up and hid it from view. And I merely have this because I confiscated it from a deviant this morning and haven't disposed of it yet. Naruto grinned at the woman with a foxy grin. So you don't care to know that Zoro and Robin end up together at the end? Spoil. I mean, who are you talking about? Griselda quickly corrected, which of course made Naruto toss his head back in laughter. Asia watched the exchange from the two with a different mindset. She had joked earlier about her father finding a new wife after the death of her mother Aurora, but that was just a joke. Though for the first time since Aurora's death, Asia was watching her father laugh and get enjoyment from someone that wasn't her. This of course filled the young girl's mind with a new objective and mission, which she dubbed as codename Find a New Mom. Listen, Griselda. Naruto spoke up, while his laughter started to die down. I'll strike you a deal. You keep that you know me along with my relation to Asia a secret, and I won't tell a soul you read my books. Hell, I'll even send you my next book to you early. Griselda jerked her head to the side and held her book out to Naruto. Sign this and tell me why you're keeping your relation to Asia a secret, and you have a deal. Snatching the book and grabbing a pen, Naruto quickly signed the book before handing it back. Asia wanted to join the church here in the Vatican City, and because I'm a very influential person, I made her go by my late wife's maiden name. It's as simple as that. Griselda folded her arms over her chest and looked at Asia. Well, you can't be talking about your fame as an author being what places Asia in danger. However, after seeing your speed and durability along with whatever you used to change your appearance, I take it you're much more than a simple perverted writer. Yeah, you could say that. Naruto mumbled in response, while he rested a hand on Asia's shoulder. But I need your word that you won't say anything about meeting me or my relation to Asia. My children are the most important thing in my life, and I have to ensure they stay safe. Griselda bowed and smiled softly. You have my word as a woman of God that I won't speak a single word of meeting you. Naruto grinned in response, as he could feel her emotions and could tell her words were genuine. Thank you, Griselda, that means a lot to me. Think nothing of it, Naruto. As a fellow parent, I can understand your desire to protect Asia. My Xenavia isn't my child by blood, but I took her in as my own and love her more than anything in this world. Griselda explained softly, while she smiled at the mention of her young protege. Naruto was interested to learn more about Griselda and her adoptive child Xenavia, as the sister of the church seemed like a wonderful person despite their initial encounter. However, before Naruto could say anything, his cell phone started to ring. This of course made the man grab the device and see that Bruno was calling him. Excuse me, work is calling. Naruto began in a serious voice, while he started to walk away. Bruno, did you and Giorno complete your mission? Asia watched her father walk to the other side of the roof to have his conversation in private. This of course caused Asia to look at her fellow woman of God with a friendly and innocent smile. Griselda. Asia spoke up kindly, which made Kurama's ears slightly twitch, showing that the powerful beast was starting to tune in on the conversation. Yes, Asia. Griselda asked. How old is Xenavia? The young blonde began, which made Griselda raise an eyebrow in confusion. She is almost 15, why do you ask? Asia frowned softly and slowly began to pet Kurama's back. She's probably older than me then. That's no good. The young nun grumbled in response, which only further added to Griselda's confusion. Why is that an issue? Griselda asked, even though she was about to regret doing so. Well, Asia drawled out in a chipper and happy voice, while she bounced on her tiptoes. I've been praying real hard for God to give me a little brother or sister since I already have a bunch of older siblings. Though it looks like if I want my prayers to get answered, you and Daddy will have to take the traditional approach. Griselda was completely red at Asia's words, which forced the nun to hold her hands up in defense. Asia, I'm flattered, but do you not think my dad is attractive? The young girl cut in. He is very good looking. Griselda stuttered, while her glance moved over to the leader of the passion. Her eyes gazing at the man's features and defined muscles that were unlike any man she had ever seen. But. Well, do you not want to be my new mommy? I know daddy has been so lonely since mom was killed. Asia explained in a slightly sad voice, but perked up quickly and began to tap on Griselda's arm. Oh, we could even bond as a family by serving God. At this point Griselda didn't know what to say, as the small and innocent girl was relentless in her questions. Meanwhile Kurama couldn't help himself from squinting his eyes open and smirking. She finds something she wants and is sly and cunning about making it happen. I'm so proud of her. Kurama thought to himself. Hey Asia. Naruto called happily, while he tucked away his phone and walked back over to his daughter. I'm sorry to leave so soon, but Bruno called and something needs my attention immediately. That's okay, Daddy. I know how busy you can be. The younger Uzumaki replied, while she smiled at her father and leaned closer to Griselda. I can just spend the rest of the day with Griselda. Me and her have a lot of talking to do. Naruto grinned without a clue in the world at what his daughter was up to. I promise I'll make it up to you, sweetie. Naruto began before looking to Griselda with a look that made the woman's face turn red. Oh, and Griselda, I really appreciate you keeping to yourself about everything you've learned today, but I have one more request. Could you watch out for Asia for me? She takes after her parents too much and is incredible at finding herself in dangerous situations. Nodding her head, Griselda took a hard swallow before speaking. I'll look after her like she was my own daughter. Naruto smiled, while Asia giggled and gave Griselda a sudden one-armed hug. Do you really mean that? The small teenager asked, while Naruto didn't understand the true meaning behind the girl's enthusiasm. Well, in that case, make sure you give Griselda my number, Asia. Naruto ordered in a simple tone, which made his daughter chuckle. Oh, I plan on it, Daddy. The girl responded in a tone that made Griselda blush, while Naruto was still oblivious. Good. And if you need anything, Griselda, just let me know. Since you're taking care of my precious baby girl, I'll take care of you. Naruto declared with his trademark grin, which only made the woman's body grow hot. Showing her embarrassment was hitting peak levels. Thank you. Griselda mumbled, while Naruto grinned and saluted the two before vanishing in a burst of speed. Followed by Kurama grinning and licking Asia's cheek before disappearing as well. All right, mommy, let's get to work. Asia declared in a bubbly voice. I'm not you. Griselda began, but stopped once Asia hugged her arm and giggled. If you want to win Daddy's heart, you have to know how to make his favorite food. Asia explained in a carefree and excited voice. So I'm gonna show you how to make the Uzumaki family recipe for ramen. 1 year later, Asia 15. It has been 1 whole year since Naruto had met Griselda, and since that day Naruto had been busy working on creating his own type of evil pieces. With the goal of creating humans with stronger bodies, lifespans, and most importantly the ability to use chakra. To his word, Giorno along with Bruno had obtained a small amount of crystals for Naruto to work with, and did so with little trouble. Considering with both boys' abilities in stealth and combat, it wasn't hard for them to steal what Naruto and Kurama wanted. Currently, the boss of the Passion and the Nine-Tailed Fox were both in a small makeshift laboratory that Naruto had created to work on crafting his new evil pieces. Work was slow at first, as Naruto wasn't a scientist or any sort of super genius, but he was an exceptional learner and had endless shadow clones at his disposal. So he had been making up for his lack of knowledge by using shadow clones to gather knowledge on creating evil pieces and formulating new ideas and prototypes. This of course finally paid off as Naruto and Kurama has managed to create their first batch of pieces. All of which were placed into a small wooden box that rested on a table before Naruto and Kurama. Let's see here. Naruto mumbled softly, while he reached out and grabbed onto a 5-pointed wedge with the kanji for king inscribed onto the piece. We managed to create 20 pieces with what Giorno and Bruno had acquired for us. However, how can we test and ensure they work? Well, I would say use one on yourself, but it wouldn't affect your body in the slightest. So it wouldn't be an accurate test to what these new pieces can do. Kurama explained in a simple voice before scoffing. So we should find a guinea pig to test on. Naruto shook his head and held tightly onto the piece in his hand. No, if these hold any negative effects, I don't want to hurt anyone. Well, we don't have much of a choice, Kit, but what could go wrong? You can feel the power radiating off those pieces just like I can. In theory, they should work without any issue. So I say we give 'em out and see the fruit of our labor. Naruto sighed and placed the piece he was holding back into the box. Then with a slightly downward look he glanced at Kurama. Fine, we will use some of the pieces on Giorno and the others. Though I'd have to call all of them back first. Kurama cracked a smile. I had already made arrangements for them to receive the pieces a few days ago, as I foresaw us finally finishing the pieces sometime by today. Naruto glared at the chakra beast. So you've been planning this without consulting me? Kurama nodded and shrugged his shoulders. Yes, and I've informed your 7 capos about what we've been working on. They are all ready to accept our pieces, which we haven't properly named yet. I feel we shouldn't copy those devils by calling them evil pieces. Naruto nodded and grabbed 7 pieces before turning towards the exit of his lab. We will call them sage pieces. The shinobi from another dimension declared, while he gripped tightly on the 7 shogi pieces in his hand. And in the future never make plans without speaking with me, Kurama. Kurama smirked and followed Naruto out of his lab and towards his office, which was on the top floor of his villa house. Then as the duo emerged into the office, they found 7 familiar and loyal individuals waiting for them. Boss, father. The 7 greeted, while Naruto waved the boys off and walked over to his desk. So I don't have to waste any time explaining why you're here. Naruto began with a slight sigh, while he leaned against his desk. So why don't we get down to business? Without wasting any time, Naruto tossed the 7 sags pieces to each of his capos. All of whom caught their respective pieces and inspected the shogi pieces with mild interest. So these will make us like you, boss? Abikio asked skeptically, while he held onto a piece with the kanji for Gold General. Naruto folded his arms and shrugged his shoulders. Yes and no. The blonde replied in a simple tone, which confused his subordinates. In theory, your bodies will become extremely durable and your lifespans will increase dramatically. You shall also develop chakra networks much like my own. However, any new power you receive would not be on the same level as my own. So yes, you will be like me, but none of you will come close to obtaining my level of power. Even Giorno, despite being my own child, didn't inherit nearly enough of my own genetics to reach my level of power. Despite that, you all will grow exceptionally in strength. Well, how do they work? Narancia asked in confusion, while the boy held the piece with the kanji for Silver General above his head against the light. Naruto tapped onto his chest. Press them into your chest and it will be absorbed into your body. Giorno held on to the piece that had the kanji for rook and shrugged his shoulder before pressing the sage piece into his body. An action that was quickly followed by the other 6 members of Naruto's top subordinates. Naruto watched with interest as each boy placed their respective pieces into their bodies. Then almost instantly one by one each boy clutched their chests, while the leader of the passion could feel chakra following inside and around the boys. This caused Naruto to close his eyes before opening them to reveal his Sharingan and Rinnegan, allowing Naruto to watch in amazement as each boy slowly grew chakra networks in their bodies, while Giorno's chakra reserves seemed to grow even larger than before. It's working. Naruto gasped in shock, while he watched the transformation happen before his very eyes. And just like that, chakra and shinobi have been reborn into this world. Naruto heard Kurama's words and couldn't help himself from smiling, as they had actually done it. They had found a way to transfer his genetics and create a new variation of humans, ones that could finally stand against all the other factions with ease. Well, looks like we will have some training to do. Naruto chuckled, as he watched all 7 of his top men collapse forward and pass out from the transformation. Despite this, Naruto could see with his eyes that all 7 were more than okay. That we do. Kurama began with a large toothy grin, while he looked over each boy. And when we're finished, humans will finally be a faction with real power behind it. Well, let's get to work then. Naruto purposed, while he along with Kurama walked forward to pick the unconscious capos off the ground. 1 year later, Asia 16. It has been another year since Naruto had taken his sage pieces and created a new generation of humans to serve him in the passion. In that time frame, Naruto had continued to expand his reach over the world, while also gathering information and training his new and improved shinobi. His efforts were quite fruitful, and after this past year had amassed enough influence, information and manpower to begin making serious moves in the supernatural communities. Currently, Naruto was standing before a large map of the world, while red circles and small notes filled out different locations and points of interest on the map. Then standing before the boss of the passion was his top capos, all of whom were trying to help offer advice for their first move and the moves to follow after. So we have information on almost every group in this dimension, but now we need to decide how we approach these groups. Naruto began in a strong and commanding voice, while he folded his arms and looked to his subordinates. Me and Kurama have talked extensively about how we should handle things for months now. First, we talked about assigning each of you as ambassadors to meet with various groups, but ultimately we decided that leaves too much room for error. So instead we shall pick and choose who we reach out to, and I will personally establish relationships with those groups. Does anyone have any issues with that? Not a single soul spoke up or questioned Naruto, as they trusted their leader and knew he would be better suited for establishing relations anyway. Considering Naruto was a natural-born leader and was very proficient at making friends with his words alone. Well, that's good. Naruto spoke up with a slight smirk. But now, does anyone have any recommendations for where we should begin? If I may, boss. Risotto began as he placed his hand over his chest and stepped forward. I have investigated several groups and factions in these last few years. In my opinion, a good starting place would be the Yukai faction led by a woman named Yasaka. She is supposedly a powerful nine-tailed fox Yukai whose strength rivals that of an ultimate-class devil. Naruto rubbed his chin and hummed to himself at his assassin's suggestion. Him starting off with a faction that isn't one of the major biblical 3. I like that idea, and I do have a certain connection with nine-tailed foxes as well. Tell me, where is this Yasaka on our map again? A city in Japan called Kyoto. Risotto explained in a matter-of-fact tone, which caused Naruto to nod his head and look at the map. Okay, so the Yukai could be a good start, but I would like to hear from the rest of you. Please share your thoughts with me. Naruto admitted, as he glanced over his shoulder and noticed Giorno take a bow. Father, I suggest making contact with the devil faction that myself and Bruno have been observing. They don't seem like an inherent threat and should be relatively easy to contact. In my opinion, they would make a good ally. Giorno began in a simple voice, while Bruno took a step forward before bowing. There are also rumors of devils from two of the noble households living in the human world. They are actually taking up territory in a town in Japan called Kuo Town. Bruno declared, which caused both Mista and Fugo to raise their brows. Wait, did you say Kuo? The gunslinger asked, which made Bruno nod. That's a wild coincidence, since me and Fugo have been hearing rumors recently about fallen angels planning on making moves into Kuo Town. So that's 3 factions within Japan, all of which have separate motives. Risotto spoke up in an emotionless tone. Abakio sighed and rubbed the back of his head. I have no confirmation on angels in Japan, but I've heard rumors of their faction having interest in the area. So we definitely need to make Japan our first target. Narancia began, while holding his hands out wide. You're right, Naranika, Japan for some reason has become a focal point for a majority of the factions for some reason. This is unfortunate since the passion's influence isn't very strong in Japan. Naruto began in a low voice as he walked over to his desk and stopped for a moment. However, we can fix that by moving our operations to the region and continuing our expansion. This of course will be mainly handled by U7, as I will be busy making contact with the factions in the area. Where are we going to start, boss? Fugo asked, which was the question everyone present had. I feel Kuo is the best course of action at the moment. If 2 or potentially all of the major biblical factions have roots in that area, then it's obviously important. Though at the same time the town could become ground zero for a major conflict, which is why our presence is needed immediately. After relations have been established, then we can focus on branching out more, but for now I feel moving our organization to Kuo is the smartest move. Naruto explained in an honest tone, which no one had any issues with. If that's your order, Father, I'll get preparations started on moving to Kuo Town. Giorno began, which made Naruto smile wide. Thank you, and I mean that to all of you. Naruto declared in a warm and happy tone, while he maneuvered his way to the seat at his desk. I couldn't have done half the things I've done without you 7 by my side. You're not just integral at helping create a better world, but you're also the defenders of the entire human race. I'm grateful and proud of you all. Naruto's 7 top subordinates all smirked at his praise, but couldn't help themselves from suddenly chuckling. Considering their powerful and imitating leader suddenly leaped for joy like a small child as his phone began to ring. It's Asia. Naruto cheered in an excited voice, while he quickly answered the phone and placed it onto speaker. Hello, my little angel, I have you on speaker phone with Giorno and everyone else. Say hi to my beautiful baby girl, everyone. Giorno laughed softly at his father's childish habits involving his baby sister. Hey Asia, I haven't talked to you in a while. I hope you're doing okay. Bruno smiled and folded his arms. Asia, it's Bruno, I miss you so much. I promise to come visit you soon. Abakio nodded and kept his cool demeanor. I'll come to and bring you some of your favorite gelato from back home. No boys have tried to make any moves on you? Mr. asked, as he summoned his gun and did a quick spin with the weapon. If so, I'd be okay with shooting them. Asia, it's Naranika. The young delinquent yelled happily, as he was beaming with excitement. I got some cool new CDs that I totally have to show you. She doesn't like your music, idiot. Fugo insulted in an annoyed voice. She would much rather spend the day with her precious big brother Fugo, isn't that right, Asia? Risotto laughed and shook his head. You guys are too much. The assassin began in a calm and collected voice. Give the poor girl a moment to speak. Tell us how you are, Asia. The line was quiet for a moment and everyone waited in anticipation for the girl to speak. However, after a brief moment of silence, the group of gangsters heard a sound that completely changed the atmosphere in the room, as the sound of Asia crying reached their ears. Asia, what's wrong? Naruto spoke up without hesitation, as it was rare for his daughter to show such emotions. I. The young blonde began, but her voice was hardly understandable due to her sobbing. Asia, calm down. Naruto instructed calmly, while everyone in the group slowly inched closer to the phone. Is Griselda there to talk for you? No, she was sent away to conduct her duties months ago. Asia spoke up, as this time the group could understand what the young teenager was saying. What happened, Asia? You're not in trouble, are you? Giorno asked, while he was hovering over top of the phone. Asia couldn't hold it back any longer, as with a tightening of her throat and a short intake of breaths she began to sob uncontrollably. The church. Asia gasped in a loud cluster of gut-wrenching sobs that tore through the chest of everyone listening. Excommunicated me. The temperature in the room dropped dramatically, while 8 pairs of blacked-out eyes glared at the phone with an immeasurable amount of killing intent. Asia. Naruto began in a low and infuriated voice, while his knuckles were pressed so hard onto his desk the wood began to crack. Stay right where you are, I'm coming to get you. Oh, okay. The young Uzumaki croaked out in response, while Naruto hung the phone up. Abakio, I want you, Fugo, Narancia and Mista, to keep your focus on making preparations on getting ourselves relocated to Japan. Bruno and Giorno, I want you two at Asia's side and stay there until I'm finished with figuring out why the hell the church decided to excommunicate my daughter. Naruto ordered in a tone that left no room for discussion, as he pointed to his assassin. And Risotto, assemble your squad, because if one person harmed my baby girl, heads are going to roll. All 7 members of Naruto's top circle took a bow of respect. Understood, boss. Good, then let's get a move on it. Naruto instructed, as he began to make his way out of his office and towards his destination of the Vatican City. Chapter end.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like this video if you want some more what if video. Comment 3 hearts for more what